Joining us now is Sheriff Thad Cleveland of Terrell County, Texas. Sheriff, welcome back. Thanks for your time. All right, so we saw that video from Allie there happened during her live shot. How often would you say stuff like that happens where these smugglers are sending migrants over the wall one after another, pretty much entirely unhindered?
Daily, every day. And as a matter of fact, I went by Border Patrol today. You know, we work hand in hand out here. And there's about 10 active groups in our area of responsibility alone. And as I've mentioned before, we have 91 miles of border we're responsible for. So, you know, we reach, as you mentioned earlier, that task saturation that happens to us daily.
All right, so Sheriff, we know smugglers are also connected to drugs. There's been a lot happening on Capitol Hill over the past couple of days. Senate Democrats are pushing back on the GOP because Republicans are linking asylum seekers with the influx of fentanyl into our country. Democrats cite the fact that American citizens account for more than 80% of fentanyl trafficking convictions. It's important to say those are the convictions. So there's a lot of people who are never caught. But regardless of the back and forth of the Democrat, the Republican of it all, how much of this border crisis is due to drug trafficking based on what you have seen with your own eyes?
Yes, ma'am. And I've often said in some of my interviews that it doesn't matter if you call yourself a Republican or Democrat. We are where we are because we haven't had that cooperation between both parties. But I can tell you right now, the cartels are solely responsible for the crisis at the border. They're creating the chaos. They're dictating what goes on along our border. They're smuggling their weapons, and their weapons aren't firearms. Their weapons are dangerous drugs. They're criminal aliens, and then there's terrorists that are continuing to cross our borders illegally.
You know, Sheriff, my last question for you. You obviously know about this. We just saw this tragic situation where dozens of people waiting to get here into the U.S. On the Mexico side of the border, they were killed in that massive fire. Are you surprised that we don't actually see more tragedies like that?
You know, actually, we do, unfortunately. That was a single event, but I remind you last year, you know, we had over 800 deaths in the United States from illegal aliens crossing the border. Any death is tragic. We don't want to see anything like that. And to be honest with you, we had our second death in our area of responsibility for this year 2 days ago. So we were down putting a body in the body bag. Last year, we had 17 deaths. And then the year before that was 19. Historically, we average about one a year. So us, like the rest of the border, we're seeing a significant increase. But it starts at the White House. It starts with the president telling these folks that are wanting to come to our country illegally to stay home, that we're not going to allow them to enter our country.
Last question for you. I thought of another one. And just really quickly, I know I've talked to you about this before. Do you think that cartels do need to be labeled as terrorist organizations?
100%. And here in Texas, you know, our governor and our legislature has already done that. I just testified at the state legislature on a resolution to encourage our own government of the United States to label them as terrorist organizations.
All right, there it is. Sheriff Thad Cleveland, Terrell County, Texas. We appreciate your time, Sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you again.